Alright, greetings everyone. I'm back after a little bit of a hiatus with Valentine's. We're still in the same spot. I didn't move anything, although I felt like I should have, just to for the sake of showing you guys. I figured I'd go ahead and make the ping pong ball nose though, so that way you guys could see that. I went ahead and I do lots of clowns, so I just took a ping pong ball, I think that's a drywall screw that I put in it so that I can hang on to the ball without actually touching the ball. And well, I've got a piece of cotton batting I've already trimmed out that I'm going to put around it, and when that cures, needless to say, it'll form a nice round clown style nose. Now I figured we'll just go ahead and do that without further ado. Just same thing, just stipple down the ping pong ball, and once you've got it stippled down, try not to drip. I realize I'm dripping a little off my sponge here. But once you get a decent bit on there, obviously choose whichever side you're wanting to use, and at that point try to place it in the center of the square. I realize that bucket of latex is kind of in the way, but place it in the center of the square there, and then just gently push down around it. The batting, it will like soak up the latex and stretch a little, so as you pull it over the ball and down, it'll kind of, even the creases will seem to disappear, because there will be creases in it because it's a flat piece of fabric that you're trying to shape into a ball. So at this point, once you've got a decent amount on there, it looks pretty good. And there goes the dog again. We'll take and stipple a little bit more on the outside, because I mean, you want a nice latex coating for the exterior of the nose as well. That way, after all, it'll take paint and it'll have the kind of shine and what you would expect, I guess, from a clown nose, as opposed to just a round piece of fabric. Now, the batting will have some texture to it, and you will, of course, want to pull more. Be careful, don't pull it off the ball, so to speak, but pull it and stretch it to where it wants to stick and form to the shape of the ball. Just keep pulling, patience with it. But the cotton batting, as it absorbs the latex, I mean, I'm sure you can see it's pretty much forming and sticking to the ball where I sponged it down. Now, as you get near the back, obviously you're going to be a little harder pressed to get rid of the creases that will invariably form. However, those right there, provided you don't cover them up too much with latex, you'll be able to trim all this off, and of course be able to blend it right into the nose of the mask when you go to apply it in a little bit. Now, like right now, I'm not really putting a lot of latex on my sponge. I'm like dipping a corner in there just to get a little more on the ball, so to speak. But I'm not putting latex out on my outer edges out here, because I don't want those to be stiff and hard to manipulate when I go to apply it to the mask. So make sure you don't get any latex on that, or, well, as much as you possibly can. I mean, after all, you'll probably be trimming it off later if you do. That's just the nature of the beast. Oop. Okay. Now that is in a pretty good spot. You can see how it's got a nice round shape to it. And as a matter of fact, I think I'll go ahead and even put another quick layer right out here on the end, because the batting really soaks up the latex, especially if you're doing a mask that consists of a lot of batting. But you'll really go through your latex. Now you'll notice, well, maybe you can't see it in frame, but because cotton batting is really nothing more than a sheet of cotton, like a cotton ball, little fibers will invariably want to stick to the sponge. You probably want to run your finger over it just to lay those back down. so that your clown nose will have a smooth texture to it. Okay, now that that's done, just set it aside, let it dry anywhere. It's not going to be in your way. Just set that right up there on that. Let that cure. In the meantime, though, I was going to go ahead and apply the ball cap here. Let's move the latex back out of the way so you guys can see a little bit more. I'm going to use the same sponge. That way I'm not using multiple sponges. And at this point, as far as this is concerned, everything is adhered around here where I last showed you. So I'm going to take and just simply turn it wrong side out. And as you can see, I mean, that was not hard. Just pull it in the reverse, so to speak. Okay. So you can see everywhere that it's not attached. Alright, there's even places actually up underneath here that it's not attached. We'll roll those back in a moment and stick a little latex underneath them. But you want to put latex, as you're stippling this layer on underneath the ball cap, you want to stipple on the whole back of the head. Don't so much worry about the ears, because in the next little video we're going to get up there and start trimming around those and tuck those in. But as far as right here on the back of the head, just go ahead and stipple all of this down, and you want to stipple it to the base of the cranium, okay? Because you're going to have to start doing a little tucking and all that stuff when you get down here in the neck area. So the main place for you to be concerned with getting it stuck right now is right here over the base of the cranium. So again, just dip it right in there. And you can put a lot on it this time because you're doing a lot of surface area. But as I said, there's a little space up underneath, so I'm pushing in reverse this way because I know it's going to shove the latex up underneath that little edge. So I just push it in reverse. It doesn't matter that you're getting it on the ball cap because you're going to put that back down in a moment. But otherwise, once you feel like you've got a decent bit pushed up underneath there, then just start with your stippling. And as you can see right here along the ear, I'm not even getting really near the ear because we're going to be doing all of that in a bit. We want that to have a nice smooth edge. It's more likely that they'll see the ears on a mask than they will the back. But again, I'm going to stop right here at the base of the cranium because a lot more tucking and whatnot has to be done around the neck. We'll show that as best I can in a future video. And again, I'm going to do the same thing on this side. I'm just going to get it right up around the ear, but not on it. Hope everybody had a fantastic Valentine's Day. I have no complaints. Went and saw Deadpool. It was fantastic. If you haven't seen it, go see it. Say, what's my name? It's Francis. And by the way, I'll admit, I'm doing what I can to not be overly sour. Those of you that, for whatever reason, see fit to spoil Walking Dead by getting on your little social media and telling all about it before I've had the opportunity to watch it, yeah, you guys suck. I mean, I DVR'd it, and yet you still got some mouth breather that wants to get on there and tell the world about how they enjoyed it. I mean, I'm not going to get on that rant. Okay, so now that the latex is stippled on the back and you have it got up around the ears, and as you can see, I've stopped right down here about the base of the cranium. There's a little flicket sticking up that I don't like. I'm assuming that's from my past stippling, but I'm cutting that off. Okay, but otherwise, it's done as I was telling you. I'm sure that you can probably see a lighter color. So we're going to let that get tacky for a moment. And in the meantime, because again, this is, you really want all of the ball cap to dry before you really start pulling around the ears and on the back of the neck. I'm going to pull this over and smooth it down. Of course, you'll see that. But the video, this particular video, will conclude there because, like I said, you want it to be nice and dry. So don't forget to put the lid back on your latex. Protect the investment. And probably had enough time. I mean, after all. And just gently grab what will be your back, and just, now make sure it doesn't stick, so to speak, around the ears as you pull it, because that's kind of a factor. You don't want to get any latex there, but pull it down and over the ears, kind of run your fingers. I'll show you on the other side in a moment, but run your fingers along it to make sure that you don't have any latex on that under edge there. See how I'm doing? Just do like this, because the latex will want to stick to your fingers and not the ball cap. And yes, it has a righteous fair amount of wrinkles, but it's still wet, so that's why it doesn't matter. Just gently pull and stretch. And again, kind of pull. Make sure that you don't have any latex that's accumulated on your edges. That's a bad thing. But pull and stretch. And once you feel like you've got it, I mean, it looks pretty smooth up here on the head. Just push it down. And you can't expect it to go down around the ears. You didn't put latex there if you were paying attention. We'll get to that in the next video. But don't put latex there. Just smooth it down around the cranium. And let that dry. Now I realize that's a little harder to tell, especially like when we were working on the ball cap in the previous video. I mean, how do you know when it's dry underneath there if you can't put your hand underneath there? You can look at it and tell. Wet latex has a white color to it, and fully cured latex is more of a yellowy color, kind of a creamy tan. So, I mean, you should be able to see it pretty good when it's cured. So, we've got it pushed down over the cranium pretty good. And as you can see, it's not stuck anywhere around the edges there, because we'll work on those in a bit. But otherwise, everywhere else is stuck nice, and no wrinkles. Looks pretty good, all except for around the ears. Okay, so we're going to let that dry, but in this particular video, before I let you go, I'm going to go ahead and show you what I was talking about right up here on the front of the head. You see how this little flap, I was talking about not covering up your detail? Well, that little flap is not stuck because I didn't apply any latex there. So now is a prime time to take those little cuticle scissors I showed you in one of the intro videos, I think. And now's the prime time to take those little cuticle scissors and turn it where the curve is to the mask. I find you get a little bit better result, and get right up to the attachment, right up to that little place where it attaches, and gently trim that excess latex away. That way it's not going to cover up any of the warts or fine wrinkles and stuff that are in the forehead of this prosthetic. Okay, now that that's trimmed away, you can barely see a little delineation there, but anyway, I'm going to take and then of course stipple some more over this edge, and that will help bring it all together. But just a little bit. You don't need much latex for doing this. You're not stippling the whole head or a whole armature, just a little bit. They're trying to get up on top of the warts, and those are supposed to have kind of a smooth texture where the skin is swollen. But yeah, just right along the delineation line here, just stipple a little on. That way, when as we do this a couple more times after getting the ball cap completely on and all, you'll realize and see that the fine lines of, for example, of the ball cap will just disappear right into the mask. You won't even be able to see it. So now that that's done and have one layer of stipple, that in the next episode, I'm sure it'll disappear, and in future episodes it'll look like one piece. Those same things will have to be addressed because after we come in and we trim around the ears and tuck all it in, the back of the neck, the ball cap, I don't know if you can really see it on camera, but there's little lines here along the jaw, both sides, where I put on the chin piece and then the upper piece. that needs to be smoothed out too. And well, I guess I should tell you about that now. I find that, I may have mentioned it in previous videos, but I find that if I take my pail of latex and tilt it to one side for a little bit, it'll come up on the wall of the bucket. And of course it'll stick, so just leave it there. Well, as it sits there, it'll kind of get more like a paste as opposed to being a liquid. And that paste latex, I will take and use like a popsicle stick and actually spoon that like cake frosting, so to speak, right into these cracks, so to speak, where you got these little delineation lines, and it helps, and along the edge of the prosthetic in some cases, because it helps make those lines disappear. I'll use it around the clown nose after it cures. Obviously, in the next video, I'll apply that too, because it'll be completely dry. But otherwise, that's the next step, is make sure your ball cap is put all the way down. If you had an issue where you needed to trim at the top, take care of that. Feel free to go ahead and stipple in, and well, in this case, make a clown nose. Otherwise, we'll catch you back probably later on this afternoon for the next installment. Obviously, it'll be dry by then, and otherwise, you have a great time. Get your stuff. Go make stuff.